Now will we see the magic?
All right, where's Murray? Okay, who is it?
This is Jesus, kid.
Know then that it is the year 10,191.
Yes, we are bored. We're all bored now.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Hello, and welcome to Mary vs. the Movies with your host, Mary Jones.
Dennis.
What?
Ring.
Jeez. Okay.
Time's running out.
For what?
I'm 0 for 6 so far versus the movies. I have 2 movies left that one of them, I got to destroy one of them.
No, not this.
And, I'm not feeling that good about this one. I think it's probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be Raggedy Ann and Andy is going to have to go down. Sorry.
Wait till you see how weird Raggedy Ann and Andy is. That's a weird movie. You may end up loving it.
But who knows? Like, everybody does a stinker sometimes. Maybe Jim Henson, dropped the ball on this one.
Dennis, you've got to see this.
I guess so.
So you saw the Muppet movie as a kid, right?
And the Muppet Show and all that.
And the Muppet Show.
Yeah, great.
You didn't see the Great Muppet Caper.
Nope.
Why?
I don't know. I was older and
No. Shut up.
The show wasn't on anymore. I think that's not cool anymore.
God, you suck. Why didn't you see the film we're watching tonight, The Muppets Take Manhattan?
Is this before or after?
After the Great Muppet Caper.
So yeah, I'm like a bratty teenager. But
Ugh.
yeah.
God, that's so gross. You must have smelled terrible.
Of course I did.
Okay, so look.
Smell.
I can picture every zit. So, all right, look. This is the third Muppet movie theatrically released.
What year is this?
84.
Okay, yeah. So I'm 13 years old.
I was watching Muppets stuff when I was 13. I was clinging hard to the idea of childhood. I was not into growing up. I mean, and then once it hit, I was just like, yeah, I'm an adult now. I don't care. But no, I very much clung to being childish when I was 13. I just did not want to be an adult at all. So I was not you.
No.
If I was 13 and
I was
somebody
wearing
said,
suits.
Dennis, you've never worn a suit in your life.
People maybe wear suits sometimes.
Our wedding. You were like, oh, it burns. I'm like Hercules as he dies. Oh, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Was that Reggie?
A little bit.
Little Reggie.
A little bit Reggie.
Every now and then I hear him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's my id. All right. So, speaking of puppets.
Yeah.
Muppets. All right.
Are they puppets? Or are they creatures?
Well, they're a little bit of a mop and a little bit of a puppet, and that's how you get a Muppet.
Oh, okay.
If I remember The Simpsons correctly. What do you know about this movie?
Takes place in Manhattan.
Okay.
And they take it.
So should I just assume you know absolutely nothing about this movie?
I have a feeling that Kermit and Fozzie and Miss Piggy and Animal are in it.
Wow, that's a bold prediction. Oh, it's a Muppet movie.
Yeah, I don't know who the other, who the human is. Or
the human.
or humans.
I love the idea of just the human. Well, no. Okay, hold on. Because, so you think of the Muppet movie.
Yeah.
The human in question is Charles Durning, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's plenty of humans.
There's a lot of
Steve Martin.
There's Steve Martin, Ellie Gould, Mel Brooks shows up as a Nazi scientist, because of course. And there's a lot of people in the Muppet movie.
Can I play a Nazi?
Yes.
Sure, Mel. I got my own costume.
Look, that man went through the Battle of the Bulge.
I know.
Look, if anybody's allowed to play it, yes. If anybody, yes. So, Mel Brooks, still alive.
Still alive.
Yes. Fingers crossed. Keep going. Okay. First movie, the human in question is Charles Durning. Second movie, the human in question is
Charles
Grodin. Or Diana Rigg, of course.
Yeah.
This film, do you think there's a human?
There has to be, and their name is Charles. Whoever
Why?
it is.
Why?
That's the patterns that's been set up.
Oh yeah, Charles Durning, Charles Grodin. Okay,
And Charles. Okay, go ahead, say it. Who is it? Charles. I was trying to think of another Charles actor. I couldn't think of anybody.
Well, there are no other Charles actors.
Charles Chaplin.
Oh my God! If only Charlie Chaplin had lived to see the Muppets.
I know.
That. Oh
He'd sue him.
well.
Those
Okay.
are my gags.
Okay, you hear the Muppets take Manhattan.
Yeah.
All right, you hear that phrase. What do you think happens in this film? And don't just say the Muppets take Manhattan.
Broadway?
Okay.
Feels Broadway-ish.
Sure.
But wasn't the first movie? No,
No,
that wasn't
no.
Broadway. That was a TV.
They go to
thing.
Hollywood.
Oh, you know what? I always just thought they went to New York.
What?
I don't know.
Dennis, when's the last time you watched the Muppet movie?
I don't know, like a little bit ago.
Oh, is it 20 years? Is it because they go on a trip from like what's essentially Florida all the way to California.
New York, yeah.
California! My God, they go to Hollywood. That's the whole point of the movie is they go to Hollywood to become stars. They get signed by Orson Welles. Do you not remember the Muppet movie?
I do.
It's
but
one of the most famous movies. Oh my God, what is wrong? Oh.
Hollywood, really?
Yeah, they go to Hollywood. So in this one, they go to Manhattan.
They go to Brooklyn and start a hipster bar.
No, God, I hope not. Oh, it's the worst idea. You know. Okay, of all the Muppets, who's the hipster most? Who is the most hipster of them all?
Scooter.
And don't. Oh yeah, you're right. Actually, I was about to say don't say anybody in the electric teeth, but yeah, Scooter. That's actually not a bad answer. Yeah, with those glasses.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, he'd be all he would not shut up about IPAs.
No.
And he's specifically millennial hipster coded.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That guy would have thoughts on beard oils.
Oh, what's Robin maybe too?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. The annoying nephew. Robin in and of himself is not
Yeah.
necessarily annoying, but the idea of the annoying nephew.
The Scrappy Doo of the Muppets.
Now wait a minute. That's awfully mean to Robin. Come on. He is not the Scrappy Doo.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. If anything, that's probably Pepe, the prawn. And I like Pepe.
No.
But what do you mean no?
I love Pepe.
I don't hate Pepe, but I'm just saying he is a Johnny-come-lately.
Yeah, but he's like he seems deliberately gross, which I like about him. Like, here's a horrifying thing.
I mean, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Like he and who's the other evil guy?
Oh, Uncle Deadly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those two.
Uncle Deadly's great.
They're
Gay
like,
icon Uncle Deadly.
I know.
All right. We know they're going to New York. What do you think actually happens, though?
Well, I think it's Broadway.
Okay. What does that mean to you? Have you seen any films where it's somebody goes to New York to get onto Broadway? Have you ever seen that type of a movie?
Fame?
I have not seen Fame.
Neither have I.
Oh, okay. Did you even watch the TV show?
Or All That Jazz. I haven't
Oh,
seen
yeah.
that.
Both. Okay, so first of all, Fame and All That Jazz are both films that we're going to cover for this show at some point.
Yeah,
Will there be a love triangle?
of course. But so in the second one, someone falls in love with Miss Piggy.
Somebody being Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming in this one, someone will fall in love with Kermit,
Okay.
a gorgeous whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Bette Midler or something.
All right.
All right, I'm just gonna throw out Bette Midler.
Okay, that's not a bad guess.
That's my guess.
Sure.
Like, oh, who are you? You know, and
Wow.
yeah.
All right. Is there a dog?
Well, there's Rolf.
Thank you. Yes, that
Yeah.
counts as a dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, he's got to be there.
Yes.
If Jim Henson's there, he's got to whip out his Rolf.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a death?
I don't know. Did anyone die in the last one?
No.
No.
It's Muppets. Dennis, focus for a second. It's Muppets. Is there a death?
Yeah, but we're getting like more into the 80s, you know, like it's, you know, like Like look at the deaths in Rambo movies. It goes from
Wait a minute. You're comparing the Muppets to Rambo?
I'm just saying that all movies now, like it's like you got to up the ante with each one, and you know, and it's not like we're not going to up it dramatically. Who cares? We're going to have just more death. So I think that like they go from 0 to 0, and then okay, we got to at least have one. So
you think
someone dies?
You think somebody dies in a Muppet movie?
Yeah, and it's Fozzie.
I
He
guess.
dies on stage.
Well, yeah, I think that might be fair.
Stadler and Walter like, thank God.
So, all right. Do you have any other thoughts about this film before we watch it?
It's probably yet another bringing the band back together.
Okay.
Like I feel like they seem to go to that, you know. Like,
Well, okay. So the first Muppet movie is actually forming the band.
Yeah.
They don't bring the band back together; they form the band.
yeah,
The second movie, they are consciously making a heist film, and they're always addressing the fourth wall and saying, "Yeah, we're doing a movie.
yeah,
This is all fake. You know, we're doing a film."
yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. It's kind of non-canon
Well,
if you count the first one as canon.
what in the world is Muppets canon if you actually think about it?
Well, so the England one doesn't count.
Right? Okay.
That's
Because
a
they're playing
fantasy.
characters.
Yeah.
They're playing characters. Right, because obviously Kermit and Fozzie are not twins in real life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, so in this, do you think this will be canon or will this be non-canon?
This is snapping back to canon. Like,
Oh.
all right, we had this experiment, and oh my God, what a bad idea that was.
No, that was a good movie. Shut up. That's a great film.
So this time they're, you know, like we're going to establish a timeline, and this is where the whole world,
my
the
God.
Muppetverse, comes from.
You've got to stop watching these superhero movies. What is this? What is this nonsense that you're saying? Oh my God, what is wrong with you?
No, I think that's what's going to happen.
All right.
And you're arguing with it is you're only arguing because you're sad at how close I'm getting to the mark. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep. You have nailed me. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what's going to happen in this.
All right, so they have a Broadway show, and some evil New Yorker, played by Dustin Hoffman, is
Why Dustin Hoffman?
I'm trying to think of like a famous New York actor in the 80s at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
'Cause,
Because he was in Tootsie?
yeah, he's trying to bring down their Broadway play for some reason to make oil or something. I don't know.
What is he going to do? Squeeze the Muppets for oil?
Yeah.
Is that what Disney's going to do to those poor Muppets?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I'm kind of mad about what they're doing to the Muppets. Anyway. All right. Do you have anything else?
Nah, I was. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've gone
I mean,
so far.
Once you get to the point of we're squeezing the Muppets for their oil,
Yeah.
I think it's time to go actually watch this movie.
All right.
Together again. Gee, it's good to be together again. I just can't imagine that you've ever been gone. It's not starting over, it's just going on.
Together again. Now we're here and there's no need remembering when. 'Cause no feeling feels like that feeling.
All right. Well, another year, another Muppet movie,
Yep.
and another episode with special guest Zach Woliner. Hey, Zach, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Mary. Hey, Dennis. Great to be here. Thank you for having me again. I'm glad to be your go-to Muppet guy.
We are-
Together again.
Hey, appropriate.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you for coming back. Oh, hey, nice. For those who can't see because it is a podcast, Zach is wearing a nice Muppet t-shirt.
Is that Muppets Take the Bowl?
The Hollywood Bowl, yeah. I went out there in 2017. Nice little family trip. Such a
Excellent.
great live show. They should be doing more live shows. I don't know why Disney, isn't. It was a huge success.
You know, I don't understand what Disney is doing with the Muppets at all. I really don't.
No, yeah. Let's close down the last thing Jim Henson worked on.
Yeah. Oh, We were actually in Disney World back in January, so it was like one last chance to see Muppets 3D,
Mhm.
and yeah, I was.
Still great.
It's still great,
It's
and
amazing.
I'm still mad that they are shutting all of that down.
Yeah.
And but I mean, let's be honest, they don't know what to do with any of their characters anymore.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not just the Muppets, like they couldn't even keep doing, DuckTales, Like they
Hmm.
they don't even know what to do with like their own in-house, original stuff. So I don't know. Disney is a mess. But let's not think about them because this is not even like a film owned by Disney. It's
Yeah.
Sony, I think.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, Disney owns the Muppets, the characters, but from some loophole, I guess, they can't distribute Muppets Take Manhattan or Muppets from Space
Yeah.
of the theatrical movies, and I think also Kermit's Swamp Years, which was a direct-to-video thing, but it's not like that matters. It was really not that good.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually one of the few things that I've never seen.
And you're fine. You're
Yeah.
fine.
But
Yeah.
this to me is, one of the big Muppet movies. It is one of the original
Yeah, the three
ones.
in the gym era, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And I've actually probably seen this. I mean, obviously I've seen the Muppet movie the most, just because I mean it came out first the same year I was born, and I watched it religiously on Saturday mornings for some, when I was a kid. But I watched this one a lot, much more than The Great Muppet Caper for some reason.
Hmm.
And so I was so excited to get to cover this for the Dennis versus the movies portion of our show.
So before we start this, Zach, I did want to ask, had you read the comic version of this? There's a comic book that was put out of this.
I was aware of it. I don't know that I had it. Maybe I did in my youth, but I don't have any recollection of it.
I didn't know. I didn't know if that was how different that was, if that had a different ending or
It might be
slightly
fun to
different.
check out, but
Yeah.
I don't know offhand.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to quickly before we
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
yeah, please.
this
Yeah.
movie, I want to talk about a previous movie
Oh, please do.
because you guys did Little Shop,
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
I was practically screaming in my car at you to a point like, ah,
Well,
because
I apologize. I
no,
didn't think about it when
no,
we covered it. I
no, no,
just
no,
sort
you
of
don't have to apologize. You're saying stuff, and I'm like, man, I wish I was there to tell them. I could answer these questions because, like, I don't think Audrey 2 counts as a Muppet.
now wait.
That's
Okay,
one thing.
okay.
That's one thing.
Why does Audrey 2 not count as a Muppet, even though that puppet is being used in a film directed by Frank Oz?
It's Frank Oz is directing it.
Yeah.
Brian Henson is inside of it at
Yes.
times,
Yes.
but it's not a Muppet. Muppets are the sort of foam and fleece, anthropomorphized animals, almost like a cartoony vibe, the big white eyes with the black pupils, that whole basic range of things. If it's more lifelike and realistic, it's qualified as categorized as a creature. So things
Okay.
that Jim Henson's Creature Shop make, they're called creatures. So like
So Yoda.
Labyrinth, Dark Crystal,
Hmm.
that's creatures. Those characters aren't true Muppets.
Mhm.
So, even when Muppet is now a legally owned term by Disney, Elmo is a Sesame Street Muppet. Fraggle Rock, Gobo Fraggle is a Muppet. He's a Fraggle Muppet. It's like the term now is on loan, but all those characters spread out as they are these days are Muppets. It's just Disney has the right to the word. But, when you go into something like Audrey 2, it's a puppet and it's got Muppet ties with Frank and Brian, and the original off-Broadway puppet was designed and performed by Marty Robinson, who was, a longtime Muppet performer. It's still not a Muppet in and of itself.
I'm sorry, this is too Muppety to not be a Muppet, though. I know, like you can talk about legality, but everything
look
at
compare
all the
Kermit or
qualifiers.
Gonzo to Audrey 2. Compare Elmo to Audrey 2.
Well, just because they don't
Grover,
have the
Cookie
big,
Monster.
yeah.
It's there's a certain type of character and a certain type of puppet. This is a complex
Look,
thing
look,
where you've got all these radio controls and wires.
Oh, but let me ask you something. Is the trash heap a Muppet?
Yeah.
Yeah, the trash heap is a Muppet. Does the
Trash Heap is nowhere near as complex of a puppet, nor intended to be realistic. It's still a sort of, for lack of a better word, cartoony puppet character.
So what about the bears in this?
Yeah, those bears in this movie.
They're Muppets. Those are Muppet characters. They
those
maybe
are
look they look more like real bears than Fozzie, which is a point I wrote down in this because he's hibernating with them, and he's there with his big round pink nose and his tie with the polka dots, and they're designed to resemble slightly more realistic bears. But no one watching this movie is gonna think, "Oh, that's a bear." If there was a Henson animatronic bear, it would most likely be in something meant to evoke a bear. So there's stuff like the movie Buddy was a Jim Henson Company movie, and they had, animatronic animals that are meant to represent actual animals, not anthropomorphic frogs and dogs and pigs that put on a show. So I think you can draw a line there, I get where you're coming from.
Okay, so let me ask you this. The dog that's a knight in Labyrinth. I forget his name.
Sir Didymus. He's like
Sir
like a
Didymus,
fox. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he a Muppet?
He's not a Muppet.
He looks like a Muppet. He looks like one of those dogs in the kennel in this movie.
But the dogs in the kennel in this movie are still more Muppety than he is. He's more detailed. He has more details representing a fantasy anthropomorphized dog or fox or whatever. He's got like all that, that hair and that design, and it's meant to evoke an animal more, it's kind of like almost if you have a matrix grid or something, like, here's like cartoony and here's real, and and whatever other quadrants it would be, and it leans more on the real side. It might not be as all the way real as like a genuine animatronic animal meant to play a true animal, like like the characters in Babe. Those animatronics, they're meant, they talk, but they're meant to look like animals, real life animals.
Yeah.
So they would be further down the real side.
Hold on.
Didymus, but Didymus is still on the real side compared to Muppet characters.
I gotta ask you something. You just brought up the movie Babe, the George Miller film. The Henson Studios didn't do anything with those animals.
I don't know that they did. They may have. I've lost track offhand whether those were theirs.
Okay.
It might be.
Sorry, I started to get a little like scared that they actually had something to do with that, because those animals are more realistic to a degree.
Well, they do that stuff. Like, they do. I mean, I have a whole book all about the history of the Creature Shop, and they've worked on a lot of different projects, including realistic animals.
I have a potential loophole here, though. The end of this film is a big scene on a Broadway stage of a wedding, right? And you have the Sesame Street Muppets show up, and the Muppet Show Muppets show up, and even like a traveling Uncle Matt shows up.
Matt, yeah, I was going to bring that up, yeah.
Because obviously the Fraggles can't come because they're down in Fraggle Rock, but at least Uncle Matt can show up. But so here's the thing: originally they were going to have Yoda in there. I read that they were originally Yoda was going to show up in there.
There was going to be some stuff.
I don't even know if they were thinking Darth Vader at a point.
Yes, they were saying
there
Darth
was like
Vader.
A concept drawing, and I think like Kira from Dark Crystal, even there were concept drawings where they were going to have it cross over even more deeply.
So, if Yoda was going to be there, is Yoda a Muppet?
Well, people call Yoda a Muppet, jokingly and stuff. Weird Al sings in his song, he looks like a Muppet, but he's wrinkled and green.
But I'm just saying.
Though you could have wrinkled and green Muppets. I'm sure there are some. But again, he's, I guess, on that matrix, he's closer to the Muppet side of things, but still on the real side. So he's a fantasy creature. He's science fiction fantasy creature, but he's not really full on. Again, he's controlled. Essentially, his basic control is like Muppets are controlled. Frank has a hand in the head, and his other hand controls one hand, and Kathy Mullen was controlling the other hand. But then he's also got all the, radio control things for his eyelids and, different movements of his face. So he's a little beyond Muppet. So like, again, like the bare bones of it, the essentials of how he operates, it's very much the same.
As the creative process went on, like their puppets get more complicated over time, right? So that look at what the rats are doing in this film. There is a complexity in what those figures are doing, and I think those rats are closer to Audrey too. They're not puppets in the sense. Nobody has their hand up in most of those figures when you see them skating around on pats of butter and whatnot, right?
Foz Fazakis was the guy who was like the real technical know-how wizard of the Muppets, and he came up with a lot of those sort of mechanisms. And I think that scene he had a heavy influence in. They're actually skating on real butter. Yeah, no, so you can do beyond the typical flapping of the hand and controlling an arm rod or using a live hand for Muppets. So there's more available for Muppets. Muppets come in different forms, but it's just the essentials of the type of character and the visual of the character that I think is really the defining traits.
And we'll table the discussion about Audrey too. Until we land into Muppet Court.
Before we do that, was there any other issues you had about?
Oh yeah, fair enough.
About
I don't remember everything I wanted to say about it. There were other things I wanted to chime in at points, or maybe at one point I wanted to mention something, but then you actually did later on in the show, so I was like, okay, cool, good for them. But otherwise, I did want to share a few little anecdotes of personal ties to Little Shop. So first, when I was a kid, you guys know my older brother Jason, he is, a director in comedy now, but he started off as a child actor. And so he would do these auditions and stuff, and he did a ton of commercials, and then he got, TV shows like Shining Time Station, and then movies like Weekend at Bernie's, and before he stopped the acting. But I'm 2 years younger than him. I'm going along with him to these things, sitting in these offices and all that and stuff. And of course, I had an interest too. So I got involved in a few auditions. My parents, tried it out for me. And there was one, as far as I know, one movie that I auditioned for. And I got to read with Ellen Greene. So
wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and she was there because she was going to play the mom and I was going to play the kid. And I remember meeting her and I was so starstruck, even young, because I was a huge fan of that from a young age. And she did the Audrey voice. And I hate that I don't know what happened to this. I would be wonderful if turned up somewhere in my parents' basement or something. But she had lipstick on and kissed a piece of paper, and I guess autographed it too. But this is ages ago, and I don't know what happened to it. It might have gone away. But that she did the voice and she did that. It was. I mean, I can still remember the scene like it was yesterday. But also, what's funny is, obviously I didn't get the part, but what's funny is you'll probably never guess what this movie was about.
No, what?
Have you ever heard of Him and Me? Or maybe it's Me and Him. I forget. It's an 80s movie starring Griffin Dunn.
Okay.
All right.
And she's in it too. And it features Mark Lynn Baker of Perfect Strangers fame in a very unusual role.
Okay.
Because Griffin Dunn, I don't remember if I heard about that, he's making a wish, maybe the kid would be like, all right, Dad, make your birthday wish or something. And somehow he's sarcastically thinking, I wish my penis could talk.
Oh no.
It's something like that. And then it comes true. It's I have never seen the movie, but that's the premise.
Wow.
His penis starts talking, and the voice of the penis is Cousin Larry.
Oh my God. Okay. You know what? I think we have to watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is 80s. If you do that one, I'd love to be on it because I'd love to finally see it.
Yeah.
What could have been.
Oh my God.
Then there's one more anecdote tied to Little Shop I wanted to tell you. This was maybe 2012. I found out that there was going to be a screening at BAM, the Brooklyn Academy of Music, and Frank Oz was going to be there. So I couldn't miss this chance, and I went with my younger brother Harry, and he was doing a Q&A. I think it was beforehand, or it might have been afterwards. I can't remember. But I have this little flip camera. I know they don't make those anymore, but I've had it. My parents got it for me the first birthday I had after I started dating my now wife. And I've used it to document our whole life since then, my kids being born, everything.
Nice.
And so I brought this along with me to this event because okay, let me see, record the Q&A. And this, I've actually uploaded this to YouTube, so you can watch it later. And if you want to insert the clip, you can. So he's talking about the movie, answering questions, and then he talks about, early on, after Seymour sings "Grow for Me," and gives it the blood, and he walks away. And it's in its little, Maxwell House can or whatever, and it starts to grow. And he's mentioning that, and he says, "How was that done?" He asks the audience. And I I'm fairly certain I leaned over to Harry and I said, "Watch this." And then I went, "Force perspective." And then he was on the stage. He was like, "Yes, no one's ever gotten that before." And he was like all excited by it. And I gave it a beat and I said, "I listened to your commentary." And he's like, "Oh." But that is another like highlight of my life that I had that moment and that I haven't recorded. So that's
awesome.
on my YouTube. So that was just amazing. And I got a picture and autograph with him after that. He stayed and there was a line and I got that. And so
shall we talk about the movie then?
yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this was actually his first solo directing debut. He technically, co-directed Dark Crystal with Jim, but he's even said it's like it was Jim's thing and stuff. Jim came to him and asked him to, do it with him, and he said it would be better if you did. And that was like all Jim said. He felt that if he had him on, it would, but I think, he still kind of yielded to him, and it's his baby, but he helped how he could. But this was and I think it was this and then Little Shop, unless like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels was in there in between. I don't remember, but
I feel like it is this, then Little Shop, then Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
It
'Cause
might
I think
be.
that's like 87, 88
So
or something like that.
did he have any directing credits before this? I mean, other than the co-directing?
I don't
no,
think so.
as far as like movies, it was Dark Crystal with Jim, and
Yeah.
then this was the first one on his own.
So they just kind of learned on the job, basically? Or?
Well, I guess like, in his experience working with Jim and all the, 120 episodes of the Muppet Show and being involved with, the previous two Muppet movies. So I'm sure, he picked up on some things.
Yeah, definitely. And he also, I was reading, kind of reworked the script, that what they had gotten was, he thought it was a little too jokey, that it wasn't at least reading like IMDb and stuff like that. He also gets kind of like a story credit on the film, kind of like shaping the script.
Yeah,
a little more.
things with him, he was like very perfectionist, and
Yeah.
he wanted to he would do like many takes on things, I've heard. And but yeah, this the last one we talked about, Caper, was co-written by Tom Patchett and Jay Tarses, who I think they also both worked on Alf. I think I mentioned that last time. So yeah, they brought them back for this, but like you said, yeah, he probably worked with some of it.
Wait, is Alf a
Oh, here we
Muppet?
go.
Oh boy.
Pandora's box.
Oh no, Dennis. Well,
He's not under the Henson umbrella.
I was
So
gonna say, was he even designed by the Henson shop at all, or?
no, Paul Fusco, the guy
Yeah,
who
that's what
performs
I
and the
thought.
guy who created it, it was a puppet he made.
Okay, then no,
And
he doesn't
you know,
count.
so I mean, there's technically the crossover of the 80s special cartoon All-Stars to the rescue, but
Oh no,
they're all in cartoon form there anyways.
that's true. Dennis, have you ever seen Cartoon All Stars to the Rescue?
No.
Oh, I saw it when it
that's worth an
aired.
episode.
Oh, you know what? That is next year's Dennis versus the movies. You have to see this insanity. I had to watch this as a kid in school when it came out. Yes. Okay. I'm not going to tell you anything more.
All right.
Dennis, read nothing about that show.
Okay.
It is a special on television. That's all I'm going to tell you.
All right.
This was Frank Oz's first fully directorial feature, and I mean, I think it's great personally. I love this one. I think in part because it's riffing off of a type of movie from like the 30s and 40s. Specifically, like there was a series of movies called like the Broadway Melody, and there were a couple of films like Broadway Melody of 29, which you and I watched, Broadway Melody of 35, I think, or something like that.
I mean, 42nd Street is
42nd
that.
Street is the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Gold Diggers of 33 is the same sort of thing. Gold Diggers of 35. There's a whole bunch of comedy musicals from the 30s, the 20s, 30s into the 40s of young people who go off to New York to make it big on Broadway and fight against the long odds to become a star. And like there's variations on it. Sometimes it's, I'm a girl in the chorus who gets picked out to be a star, or hey, I'm, the hot young songwriter and my show finally gets picked up. There's a couple different versions of this. It's what they call the backstage musical. And they were huge in the 30s, right? Yeah. And this is basically riffing on the same thing. Like it is directly modeled on all of those types of films. So, and I grew up on stuff like that as a kid,
that's cool.
Yeah,
and I mean, like, yeah, Muppets are all about let's put on a show. So it's really,
Well, no, I mean it
their
absolutely
wheelhouse.
fits. Yeah, because if the Muppet Show is essentially vaudeville, and it's a backstage TV show about vaudeville, right? It has its own roots in stuff like, the old Jack Benny show, which was sort of the same idea, except done on the radio and then later on television of this is sort of like it's the show within a show. You see the Muppet Show, but then you see all the backstage stuff going on. This is doing the same thing, but using the Broadway musical movies, I should say, of the 1930s. And it's kind of doing the same thing where it's all the build up to finally having the big show at the end of the film. And this is part of a trend in the 1980s of reviving these types of movies that were being made in like the 30s, right? So, there was sort of a revival of screwball comedies. We watched Joe versus the Volcano last week. It's the same sort of thing. Trading Places is the same sort of thing,
with Frank Oz in it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And directed by John Landis, who is in this film.
I was gonna get to that because John Landis considered Frank Oz his like good luck charm and putting him in all those movies, Blues Brothers 2000, Trading Places, I think American Werewolf in London, or
yeah, he is. That's right. I think he's the doctor in that.
And you know what John Landis project Frank was not in?
Twilight Zone.
There you go.
Oh, thank God. Yeah.
Well, but I'm saying didn't have the good luck charm.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point where, it's so funny that's like the second or third time the Twilight Zone movie has come up around us lately. And I feel like we're going to be covering it soon.
We've been circling it.
Not that I'm making light of what happened.
No, but it's
a tragedy, but it's just interesting to note.
Exactly.
And also, I saw maybe this was him kind of paying him back in that way, but also John Landis performed Grover in the final scene of the Muppet movie.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the big, Rainbow Connection finale after the thing falls apart. He's doing Grover. Tim Burton's in there somewhere too.
Really? Huh. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a lot of bodies just,
Yeah, they got like local puppeteers. They put out a call for, because the Muppet Troupe itself is, a handful of people. And then there's like, probably close to 200 puppets. It was like every puppet they had up to that time, I think, between Sesame Street, those Muppet Show Muppets. I think even I think the SNL characters are there.
Oh God, I have to go.
If you want to again, I can think of blur that line of are they Muppets? Those they were technically Muppets. They were, they had their eyes were like realistic looking eyes.
Yeah, that's right.
But they're still inside of very Muppety Muppets, so they're not as advanced as the creatures. But they're a different style than the typical Muppet you think of. But those were definitely they were introduced as Don Pardo and Jim Henson's Muppets.
Oh man, they a couple weeks ago when they were doing the whole 50th anniversary of SNL, they showed the first episode.
Right. They re-aired it. George Carlin,
yeah, and Dennis and I were watching it, and just how weird it is seeing that Muppet sketch in there. I mean, I know it's weird to call them Muppets, but they are referred to as Muppets. It's so weird because it has kind of the rhythms of the Muppet Show but it's because of the audience that they're writing for. It's more lascivious. So there's something. It's so.
Well, also, and the Muppet
so
people,
off.
for whatever reason, some legal writing union thing, they couldn't write their own material.
Yeah.
So people talk about how that those sketches were like weak or anything, but like they weren't the ones writing it. So it was like SNL's young, like hip, edgy, cool, drug addict, writers writing for these characters that they didn't give a crap about.
Yeah.
These puppets that the cast felt was upstaging them. So of course they're not going to give them the best material.
Yeah. It's such a it just does. Yeah, it's such a weird fit. And in fact it doesn't fit. And there's a reason they didn't keep it up. But it is sort of weird to go back and watch that. But
it's
so
funny,
go ahead.
As much as Chevy Chase is known as like one of the biggest pieces of garbage a-holes on the planet, my one saving grace for him is like I heard he was like the one person in the cast who was like kind to them.
Oh, that's interesting.
I give him that point, but otherwise, he's one of the biggest jerks known to man.
But I found that interesting, actually, huh?
Yeah, he does appear in Follow That Bird. So
I don't remember.
He's a news anchor, so he's basically his weekend update kind of role.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah. Again, Follow That Bird, something Dennis has not seen.
There you go. Another one.
That's another one.
That's another one. So this film is different from the other films in that they never break the fourth wall. In the Muppet movie, that's nothing but breaking the fourth wall. In The Great Muppet Caper, they, they're constantly saying, by the way, this is a movie, it's absurd that we're twins, all that type of stuff. This movie's a little different, and I find it
it's
interesting.
grounded in that
Yeah.
story. It's telling the story it is, and it's within that reality, really. Yeah.
Yeah, so this movie is a musical, like a lot of, like the Muppets usually are, but I like the music in this.
It's Jeff Moss. It's
yeah.
so
And
he's a Sesame Street veteran. Joe Raposo did Caper,
Mhm.
then they had Jeff Moss did this. He's written People in Your Neighborhood, I Love Trash, Rubber Ducky, and then even like something more obscure but a favorite of mine, Captain Vegetable.
Oh no, I know Captain Vegetable.
I'm sure
Yes.
you do, but not
Yeah.
everyone. But I mean, those other ones are like everyone knows I Love Trash and Rubber Ducky and People in
Yeah.
Your Neighborhood. But yeah.
But no, I mean, he wrote like all of the really great original Sesame Street songs. So, like the first movie, obviously they've got Paul Williams, and Paul Williams is, like just a great songwriter. But then the second one is Joe Raposo, and Joe Raposo, is again also like a great song. Like, but yeah, Jeff Moss, these songs are actually great. I find it interesting that this film, they never put out a soundtrack for it, which is kind of a shame because
they might have done it on like an album, like a record. I don't know. I don't think they've released it on CD or anything.
I don't think, no, from what I was reading, they've never actually, like, they tacked a couple of songs onto some sort of compilation disc.
Well, I had the 25th or whatever anniversary Muppets CD. That is a compilation of the show and the movies.
Yeah.
But I also got ripped offline a soundtrack of this where like the tracks go into each other. So it seems like it was made as an album. I think it was just released as like a record, but it was never put, digitally or CD, So
Yeah,
I
because
think that's what it is, yeah.
Because like you can easily find like the original Muppet movie, like that's on, all your streaming services, and that you can pull that up pretty easily. But like this is not really out there.
I could send you a copy if you want.
Actually, I'll take it, to be honest. Because I really like the music in this.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, the premise of the film is, as we said, this is not like the other Muppet movies where, they're like, hey, we're making a movie and this is what our premise is. Hey, this is about how we all got together. Hey, we're doing a caper movie. This is as you said, kind of more grounded in that way. It starts off as if the Muppets are all graduating from college. They're all seniors at someplace upstate New York.
Danforth. They called it.
They call it Danforth College. I think they actually filmed it at like Vassar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a great opening where you're like seeing the New York City skyline and you hear Kermit like sort of humming and little scatting kind of thing, which leads right into the university and then the musical. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you get like kind of a scene of them doing like the college show that Kermit has written, and we have the opening of
Together
Look
Again.
at Me. Yeah. Is it Look at Me?
No,
Here I Am?
no. That's when he's remembering who he is at the end.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. It's Together Again. It's kind of funny to open a show with Together Again. It's kind of working backwards.
But yeah, that's what I was gonna say. One point I've noticed on recent rewatch with this, it's like, what's the true ending of Manhattan Melodies? Because in the beginning it ends with them singing together again, but then when they actually put it on Broadway, the ending is the wedding scene. So it's like, wait, which one is the actual ending?
Look, it had a lot of reworks, okay? You have to do a lot of rewriting to get to Broadway.
within the 2-week frame where the star and writer was missing with amnesia.
Yes.
Yeah, see, like I took it as like it was a fourth wall breaking thing, and that like, oh hey audience, we're together again type of thing.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Hey,
but then they kind of pull back from that, and it's like, no, this is just a regular scripted movie.
Yeah. They decide that, hey, this show's so great, we're gonna take it off to Broadway.
One guy in the audience shouts it, and then all of a sudden they're willing to take their college show to the biggest stage in the world.
A very realistic goal.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, very ambitious.
So they all take a bus ride down to New York and decide to live in the bus terminal.
I like that little gag. It's probably been done on other things too, but like where they show the skyline and then it pulls back and it's like a poster.
Yes.
Welcome to New York.
But they mostly stay together because like if they don't do this Broadway thing, then they'll all go their separate ways.
They try to sell their show. They start hitting different Broadway producers and try to sell their show.
The first one goes amazingly well.
Yeah.
He wants it right away.
Look, is it truly a film in the 80s if you don't have a sleazy Dabney Coleman showing up at
Oh,
some point?
man.
And he is in prime Dabney Coleman mode here.
With his assistant Beverly Crusher.
I
Yeah, I
know.
was going to say one of the early cameos in here is Gates McFadden back when she was called Cheryl McFadden.
Yeah.
He actually also worked on Labyrinth as like doing choreography.
Yeah, I had not realized that she had a connection to the Henson crew and all that stuff before she was doing Star Trek. But yeah, it's really fun to see Dr. Crusher in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Dabney Coleman, he's just like, yeah, I'll definitely buy your show. Just give me, $300 a piece.
Yeah.
At which point, the cops bust in, and apparently he's very much a
He's-
Dabney Coleman character.
He's Murray Plotsky, who's apparently stolen this woman's life savings. But like, what I think maybe the last time I watched this, or maybe just now, I was thinking about it. And like, so wait, if that's true, and he's Murray Plotsky, but he's at this office for Martin Price, and he's got a secretary who knows him as Martin Price. Like, how hard, like, how long did he plan this scheme, or is it like some side hustle where he is living the Martin Price life, but then he goes out and does shady stuff as Murray Plotsky? I don't know.
I mean, I just assume this is like a Max Bialystock sort of situation. Like, he's basically just doing the producers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could see
Yeah.
that as a potential parallel.
Absolutely.
A little old woman who he took all her money from.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what this is. But so yeah, their first, attempt to sell the show, it does not go how they think it will. And then we have a montage of just them, hitting different producers.
I feel like you could make a 2-hour movie of montages of people being rejected. Like
just from like films in general. Oh yeah, because
and I would love to watch that. By the way, I could easily watch.
You mean like a montage of montage?
Yes, yes. Oh my God, I want to see this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, because it would be this. It would be Singing in the Rain. It would be like there's lots of different examples of this. And the Singing in the Rain, of course, is also drawing off of those same like Broadway melody films and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let's do another great song, "Can't Take No for an Answer," with Dr. Teeth singing it. And
Yeah.
it's got a cool hint of foreshadowing too, because you see they go to the office of Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
And Lonnie's standing there watching with a big smile on his face, and like the secretary or whatever closed the door on them. So a little like, oh, well,
Yeah.
come back to this guy later.
Exactly. So
I didn't notice that at the time, but I think some part of my brain did notice that.
oh yeah.
I was like, wait, I remember this guy. Where do I remember this guy from? And
It
I
is something
think-
that probably would normally take multiple viewings to
Yeah.
catch. In the montage, you see a shot of just their legs walking.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know sometimes people are put off by like full body Muppets because you're used to mostly seeing them from the upper half, but sometimes you see them full body. But this is like I'd say a fairly rare instance where you just see legs.
Yeah.
That's true.
And it's the grossest street. It's like this like
Oh yeah.
black and like slimy street, and like poor Kermit's
I was gonna
flapping
say,
on there.
that felt will never get clean.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, two things about full body Muppets. You bring that up. So one, I want to go back to when Dabney Coleman's being arrested and he takes hostages.
Yeah.
And so he grabs Camilla, and that's fine. And then he grabs Gonzo. They're able to kind of keep Gonzo still moving a bit. So I assume there was some sort of like radio control or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Yeah.
exactly what it was, but yeah, he definitely is. So I wasn't sure what the movement was or how much Dabney Coleman's contributing to.
Yeah.
But like it's funny. I watched when I was watching today, I got to laugh because there's a great it's a quick line in there. He's like, "All right," or the chicken gets it. The cop's like, "That's a threat." It's just like a great, funny little one-liner. But yeah, then he has them in each arm, and they're a little moving around. And then Animal jumps down on him, but then when you see him running, Animal's just like basically attached to his legs at the arms, and he's just kind of like.
But I will say, Dabney Coleman's movements are really well choreographed.
They do help. I mean, it's amusing. It's a funny movement to look at, but yeah, it does help sell.
Yeah.
That they're like actively involved. And oh man, I don't know if you noticed, but like you look at Camilla's face when she's biting his ear, her eyes are like she's in like insane mode.
It's really impressive what they do when they're not in a puppet mode. They really do a great job like in a scene like this where I know these are puppets, but they're able to kind of give that sort of simulacrum of life to them
Yeah, they
by
bring
doing
life to them.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really impressive. So that
Yeah.
and part of that is how Dabney Coleman himself is moving, but it's also like what they do with the puppets and stuff. And I mean, it's really fantastic, actually. It's just little scenes like this. But the other one, you brought up the full body Muppet thing. In the middle of the film, there is a scene where Miss Piggy gets mugged. Basically, what happens is, there's sort of like a break off, and Miss Piggy is spying on Kermit, as often, which is expected because it's Miss Piggy. But so she's spying on Kermit in Central Park, and a guy mugs her, and she has to chase after him. And Gregory Hines, the great Gregory Hines, gives her a pair of roller skates to chase after the guy. That's a human being on roller skates.
Yeah, well,
dressed up like Miss Piggy. Now, on the one hand,
at times they're close-ups, and it's just the puppet, and Frank Oz is probably being pulled along on like a little dolly.
Right, but there are times,
yeah,
there are times it's a human being skating. Like it's all faraway shots. I get that,
right? Because if it got too close, it would look very bad.
But there is something so weird. It's a very weird thing to look at, and just your brain kind of says, wait a minute, that's actually a person.
Because she's moving like a person. She's not moving like a full body Muppet. Like even if they were having a Muppet like shown full body, but they'd still move in a Muppet like way.
But there's something so strange about it.
She's like roller skating and like moving her arms back and forth like you would to
like
get that.
That is a roller derby girl.
It's like the Sesame Street Christmas skating scene.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, those are really strange. Yeah, because those are just like very big. Full suit versions of small characters. So like when it's Big Bird doing it, he looks like Big Bird. But when it's, Ernie and Bert and the Count and stuff, they're mascots. They're not their usual selves. They're not the size of them. So they grow huge for the sake of a ice skating scene.
What's funny is
still one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah,
just for Oscar.
It's very amusing. It is a fun. And when Oscar flings through the walls,
Oscar goes through 2 walls, and it's one of the funniest. It's still one of the funniest.
And he wants to do it again.
Yeah.
At the end of it.
But but there's something so strange about when you watch Christmas Eve on Sesame Street, and they're just basically mascots that you would see at like Sesame Place or something. As a kid, I just kind of go, yeah, okay, fine. Again, when I see a live human being is from far away dressed to be Miss Piggy, and this human being is roller skating through Central Park chasing after a guy, I don't know. There's something so like I completely understand it. It still looks really weird. Like because my brain is
out of the scene.
Yeah, huh?
Did it take you out of the scene or not?
But my brain is sort of saying, no, that's a little too much.
Yeah, you're just like, huh? I mean, like also in Caper when they do the water ballet.
Yeah,
she's at the top and she dives into the water. It's the same thing, and she's a little more visible in that scene, I think, than anything in this one. So it's very strange.
Yeah. But so anyway, they are in New York City, and they're trying to get the place sold, and it's just not going well, and so they end up at a luncheonette, Pete's luncheonette, and the owner takes pity on them essentially to condense the story. But I love the luncheonette. I love
people is people.
Because people's is people's.
I was gonna mention also him, Louis Zorich, the actor.
Yeah.
I have another connection with him because when Jason was a child actor, he was in an off-Broadway production of Henry IV with him. He played Falstaff, and Jason was like his page or something.
Wow.
We interacted with him in person too.
Oh wow. I love all of the stuff with Pete and the luncheonette and everything.
Yeah, no, it's a good character.
Yeah, no, but I mean, part of it is also I just love luncheonettes. I love little diners. Like I don't know about elsewhere, but a lot of them have disappeared in Philadelphia, which is a real bummer. There used to be a place actually called Little Pete's in Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
And it was, gutted.
We've lost a lot.
We've lost so many places. Oh my God. Like this, like I love all of the stuff set in this little place just because I don't know, it's like the kind of places that I would always hang out a lot. And so I don't know. I just like on like my own personal level, I love all of the stuff in the luncheonette. But so yeah, part of the film ends up centering around this luncheonette, and it's run by Pete, who is obviously an immigrant, I assume Greek, and
he definitely comes off as Greek. Yeah.
Oh,
there
very
is
much
even
so.
like a sign in the back at one point about like a Greek salad.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. And he has a daughter, Jenny, who is the waitress, and his main employee otherwise is Rizzo the rat. I
Yeah.
love Rizzo.
It's funny. I was gonna mention bringing up when they introduced Rizzo. I don't know if it's just me because I'm Jewish, but
Mhm.
like, is this abnormal that this woman orders a cheeseburger and she wants a glass of milk with it? Like, is that who gets a glass of milk with a burger? Is that not a strange thing to pair together?
Actually, no, that is
Yeah, it
weird to
is.
me.
Yeah.
No, that's very strange. You
Who
know,
has a burger and a glass of milk?
I'm about as Gentile as you can get. And no, that is not at all something you would do.
Yeah, just like taking the kosher part off the table, even like, obviously
Yeah.
cheeseburger itself is not kosher, but she doesn't have the meat, and that's like the joke because it's like a bun with just cheese. But she also asked for a glass of milk, so even if it had the beef patty there, she wants a glass of milk to go with that. I just found that very strange.
You know, it's funny you say that because if it was a milkshake, I'd go, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a little different.
That's a little different. A glass of milk,
I used to get those.
disgusting.
For some reason, I feel like that's something that Steve McQueen would have. A cheeseburger and a glass of milk. That just seems like his style for some reason.
Well,
I don't
that's
know.
why he died when he was like 50.
Well, yeah.
He had no arteries left.
I wasn't sure if you meant like actual Steve McQueen or like a Steve McQueen character.
No, I think actual Steve McQueen,
But yeah, so I love everything with the luncheonette. I love that we finally get because Rizzo as a puppet, I think, had been around for a while, but this was the first time he was given like a real character, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he had somewhat developed who he was on the Muppet Show. I think he came in on like the fourth season, maybe the third. But I mean, this was his first, real big. Well, no, I mean, he's in Caper a little bit as like the bellhop.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
This is his more substantial role.
This is where he actually gets
He's
to
definitely
shine.
named.
And then
Yeah.
you get other rats that he
Mhm.
kind of becomes the leader of the pack.
Yolanda.
Yolanda, yeah.
Masterson, Tattooey.
Yeah.
I do like the guy's name Tattooey, as
I
in
know.
Ratatouille.
Wow, I don't
and
think I ever thought of that until you just mentioned. Wow.
well, so here's the thing. Later in the film, all the rats are working in the kitchen, just like the movie Ratatouille.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's another thing Pixar stole, like the Christmas
I mean,
play.
right.
Maybe that's why Disney bought the Muppets just to avoid a future lawsuit.
I mean, it's right there.
I know.
Look, I love the movie Ratatouille. I really do. I think it's like one of Pixar's best things. But I'm watching this tonight and I'm just went, oh my God, that's just the movie Ratatouille.
Yeah.
I just realized what I'm watching. So yeah, the part of the film is set in the luncheonette, and they all they have pity taken on them, that they're going to get soup and stuff.
Yeah, they
but
got
everybody,
like no money and
Yeah.
and they're hungry and they're arguing with each other on the walk there.
and essentially saying, Kermit, what are we going to do? And he's just like, look, man, I don't know. You can't just put this all on me.
Yeah.
And he's right. And he's right. He's right. I mean, like, yes, I wrote the show, but you guys, you got brains. Figure something out.
Yeah,
So
it puts a lot of pressure on him.
It does.
He's clearly the leader, but it's just like, look, I can't do everything for you.
exactly. So everybody then decides to take the initiative and frankly leave, which I'm sorry, that's not what he meant, guys. He just meant go pick up a couple of, odd jobs or something. He didn't mean like scatter to the four winds,
Well, that's kind of what they do as odd jobs, but they're just all over the place. But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
They're conflicted. They have their little private conversation where they're just like, I don't know, maybe we just need to do this to take it easy on him.
I'm just saying, it's like, guys, you took it a little too far, and so not only, how far do they take it? Pittsburgh, Ohio, Maine, Michigan. So yeah, they scatter. We find out, where they all go off and try to find their own jobs. So, Gonzo is doing, stunts at a park in Michigan, and people are not impressed. Which, I'm sorry, but if I saw chickens and a weird thing doing stunts, I would be impressed. These people, they're a tough crowd.
Yeah.
Oh wait, who were they supposed to sing like?
Tony
Tony
Bennett.
Bennett.
Tony Bennett. Yeah.
That don't sound like Tony Bennett to me.
You know what? That guy's right. It does not.
Nah.
Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem end up in Pittsburgh, and they have to play like polka music in a German hall.
And Heather Henson is there serving drinks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And she's also in Little Shop. Going back to that, she's in the the dentist's office. She has a little cameo there.
That's right. But let's see. Ralph is in Delaware of all places.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love the whole Ralph thing.
He's managing other dogs.
Yeah.
Right. He's basically just, I don't know. Would you consider it like he is a dog concierge or is he a dog jailer?
No, I wouldn't call it jail. I mean, it's just that he's, the one in charge of,
They're in
watching.
cages. They want to
Well,
get
yeah,
out.
but like, I don't know. That's just the nature of the beast of the place he's working at.
Very fussy rich
Yeah,
man,
James
comes in.
Coco,
Yeah.
who was a Muppet Show guest star himself. There's a few Muppet Show guest stars who have cameos, isn't there?
But yeah, so Ralph is just basically like overseeing other dogs who are in cages. And again, I'm sorry, but when you say that out loud, that sounds terrible. But it's a very I really like the way that scene is written.
But I love the sit,
Yeah.
like when he sits. Like, that's
Yeah,
a
when
great
Ralph
scene.
is forced to act like a dog and he talks about how humiliating it is. See, that's what I love. I love when every so often like they kind of like remember to express like some sort of animal nature or at least reflect it, and there's always something really funny about
Well,
that.
like Fozzie.
Well, like Fozzie going up to Maine and trying to hibernate and being unable to,
Yeah.
I like how when he's talking, like having a nice talk with Jenny, Kermit just like wraps up by going, "I'm a frog," like
Yes.
very matter of factly, as if it wasn't like self-evident.
So yeah, Fozzie tries to like go all natural and can't do it. And Scooter ends up working in a movie theater in Cleveland.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, also a female bear is cuddling Fozzie.
Snuggling up, like maybe it'll help if we cuddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not thrilled about that.
Well, he's not, but
It's a strange bear,
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
She's just really coming on strong with the guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do get to
Yeah,
see
but
like
Scooter, yeah, he bumps into Swedish Chef working there too.
right
And of course, New Zealand,
New
which
Zealand.
I was going to mention. It's always great when they have New Zealand state what his whole deal is. Hey, I'm New Zealand. I throw boomerang fish away from me, and they come back to me. I think he does it in the first Muppet movie. I think when he's in the theater waiting for the movie to start. He does it probably when he's first introduced on the Mojo. It's such a ridiculous. I don't know who came up with that concept. It's so ridiculous, but it's an added layer that he has to say what his whole deal is every time.
Yeah, New Zealand is one of those characters. It's like obviously this was born out of like, hey, if you had to put on like a variety show every week, you'd have somebody who did like a weird thing.
Yeah.
And so this is his thing. But the fact that they keep bringing him back in more and more improbable like reasons to be there, like there is no reason. But they made it work in this. This is actually really smart. This whole little vignette is there, Scooter works in the theater and they're showing a 3D film, Attack of the Killer Fish, which is basically Jaws 3D. And so they actually have a reason for Lou to be there,
Yeah.
where he throws fish at the audience.
I always like it when you hear the woman, "The killer fish are attacking." It's just like this classic line you hear. It's like over the top delivery of that line. It's perfect.
But I love how, yeah, they finally give him a reason to exist is to actually throw fish at people.
It's funny, his introduction on the Muppet Show, I guess you could say it ties to this movie because in it, Piggy is trying to get a wedding with Kermit, like a wedding scene ostensibly. I don't know if she was trying to pass it off as real, like it comes off in this movie, but like basically they're on the altar and like I guess it's Kermit's time to speak, to say something, and instead of "I do," he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, New Zealand boomerang fish already." He interrupts the whole thing.
I did not realize that. Yeah.
I think it's the Marisa Berenson episode.
Okay. So yeah, the one person who doesn't leave town is Miss Piggy.
That's what I wanted to bring up about this. Where does she go on that train? Like, did
I
she
think
go at the next stop and then
she went to Hoboken and took the path back? But no, so that's basically what it is. She is, instead of actually leaving town, she's actually still living and working in Manhattan. She works at Bergdorf's, the big department store, the makeup counter, and
with Joan
Rivers.
Yeah, I was reading about that scene. I guess Frank Oz and Joan Rivers weren't really hitting it off.
I just actually read that today because I was looking something up, I think for like IMDb trivia, and I have it upon because I actually wrote my notes, like wondered how many takes it would take because she's slathering this makeup on the puppet.
Yeah.
I'm like, did they do this all in one take? Because like, how did they get that out of the foam and flocking and stuff? But apparently it took a whole bunch of takes and it wasn't working. And then I mean, if you saw it, if you want to finish the story.
Oh no, you can if you want.
Okay, I think they Frank and Joan Rivers each got like 2 gin and tonics,
Mhm.
and then they were then they went for it and they got the take that they liked.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, it works. It's funny. I mean, it's I don't know. Like I felt like a little bit like I was watching, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel for a second, but yeah. That's a joke only for me in Atlanta. But anyway, yeah, no, I liked the whole little Joan Rivers bit in this, But
Oh,
yeah,
and
so
another thing about that, I noted this. It is one in a line of, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, I think, tendency within Muppet movies. They reveal cameos by having someone like turn their head to reveal themselves.
yes,
It's a
yeah.
pretty common thing. At least, I know in the Muppet movie there's several of them, and then this is one. So like she's like over the counter and it's like, huh? Oh, Piggy, hi. It's like this grand reveal of, look, it's another cameo. I was gonna do a supercut at one point, but I just never got around to finishing it.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Of course, I love supercuts.
That's true. Meanwhile, Kermit is still working on the show and he's getting a lot of encouragement from Jenny and he's kind of working as the dishwasher at Pete's. And, he has not given up. He is still hitting different producers and trying to like talk his way into Broadway. And so we have that little scene with John Landis.
Right, yeah, he first puts together like his first alter ego in this, where he's the fast talking. Is he supposed to be the writer? I don't know, or what is he supposed to be?
I don't know.
Is he like some sort of agent? I don't know, but he's like fast talking. He's got the afro. He's like Boffo Lenny, Socko Lenny, and his secretary is actually a cameo. That's Frances Bergen. That's Candace Bergen's mother, Edgar Bergen's wife. So
Edgar Bergen, of course, Edgar Bergen and Troy McCarthy, and he was in the first Muppet movie as a cameo. He's a famous ventriloquist. Candace Bergen, she I think was on the Muppet Show.
Both of them had hosted
Yeah.
episodes, and the first Muppet movie is dedicated to his memory.
Right. Yeah.
So now the mother/wife gets in on it too.
Yeah, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he sees a couple different producers and goes to Sardi's, the famous restaurant.
The second alter ego in his plan.
Yeah, with the pencil thin mustache and everything.
Yeah.
And he and the rats try to do a whisper campaign while in Sardi's, and he puts his own photo or caricature, I should say, up on the wall, taking down Liza Minnelli's, and thankfully we get a Liza Minnelli cameo of her being like, "Hey, wait a minute."
and apparently that's still there.
Yeah.
That same picture, which is great.
Well, I was gonna say I went to like a little party for some of my old high school friends at Sardi's, and I got my picture with the Liza one and with the Kermit one.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Apparently, I think it was in the trivia today, the Kermit one apparently shows up in other movies. I don't know.
Does it really?
Take place. I mean, this was news to me, but I mean, I guess other things filmed at Sardi's.
Oh.
But it's kind of out of the way. You have to
Uh-huh.
find it. Like we were in a room for like this occasion, and they had all this stuff on the wall, but like it's on its own separate like little spot. Oh, another thing, I think I just noticed this for the first time ever in all the times I watched this movie. When they're doing the whispering campaign, the rats have little like masks, like bandana masks on, like they're in disguise, like, as if it would matter. They're still rats running around, but like as if to hide their identities. So
Oh my God. I
they,
didn't
and,
notice that.
you look at them under the tables, and they've got like little bandana masks tied around their heads with their eyes sticking. Oh, before this though, I want to mention the
Oh, yeah, please do.
Central Park. I know we talked about
Yeah.
the Piggy thing already, but in Central Park where he's like talking to Jenny and everything before the whole Piggy action sequence, there was something where there was like mechanical trouble with the camera or something, so they were just like there, and a kid came up to like Jim and Kermit and started talking to Kermit, and then like a bunch of kids came in. He was just in character as Kermit, talking this story, and it's just such cool. Like I'm like, man, I wish I was there. I mean, when this came out, I was like 2, so it wouldn't happen. But like some of these things, it's like you wish you were there for it. 'Cause
Yeah.
that just sounds like such a magical.
I can't
occasion.
imagine.
And then he has a cameo himself as the guy doing the horse and buggy.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously then they have the dream sequence, which is what led to Muppet Babies.
Yes, yeah. So yeah,
We can't skip over that.
no, absolutely not. Because
Actually, what I love about that scene is the one shot where they jump off the back of something, and then there's a quick shot looking down at them on the floor, and obviously they're being animated through the floor, like they have holes in the floor, but it's like kind of like a really good edit where it seems as if like it's seamless that they're falling, and then here we are looking down on them at the floor, but obviously it's a completely different setup.
Yeah, there's impressive stuff, and I think like Kermit like tumbles down a slide or something at one point.
Oh yeah, Yeah, well, Miss
So
Piggy
what?
does.
So, oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
mixing
at the
things up.
bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's one part where they're like dancing in the bed, and Ralph is like jumping and flailing. He's clearly got like a stick running straight through his back,
Yeah.
through the
Mhm.
wall, and they're like, twisting it. But
No,
it's just, yeah, it's very cool.
the Muppet Babies sequence is really, really impressively done, but also, yeah, this was how they kind of introduced the idea of, what then was the Muppet Babies cartoon show, which
Well, yeah, this is what led to that. Yeah.
yeah, and that was on, I mean, that was on exactly when I was a kid. Like
Yeah.
I was the exact right age for that. And yeah, I watched the Muppet Babies like, religiously as a small
Yeah.
child. I loved it.
Yeah. It just
Um
sucks so much that because of the nature of it, with them using the clips
yeah.
of movies and shows, it's like it'll probably never be
Oh
released
yeah.
in any format. But I mean, I was thinking like once like Disney kept buying things up, it would have been more reasonable. They got Lucasfilm, they got this thing, that thing, and
Yeah, if you
soon enough they'd own it all.
if listeners have never seen the Muppet Babies show, it was a cartoon in the 80s through about 91. And it was, yeah, it was these Muppet characters as if they were, little babies hanging out, but it would do a lot of like mixing together like, clips of film, and the idea was like, they would have these flights of imagination.
Yeah, it was
And
very heavy on
so
imagination. Yeah.
yeah, and so because they used all of these film clips, and it would be like stuff, it was like all over the place, but there was a fair amount of Star Wars mixed in, just because of the time period, and because like, obviously the connection between like, doing Star Wars and the Henson Company, they would kind of mix stuff together. And, because they used all these different film clips, yeah, I don't know if that's ever going to see a legal release. It's kind of
Yeah,
hard to find
it's
these
sad
days.
because it's such a good show. I mean, they
Yeah.
made like a modern CGI reboot sort of, but it's very different. I mean, it has like I guess the basic idea behind it, but it's a whole bunch of new people, new voices, new
Yeah.
everything. They added new characters, but like you want to see that original for people like our age. You want I wish I
Mhm.
could share that with my kids, but it's not readily available.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, when you think about, at the time period in the 80s, you could get away with like mixing together stuff a lot more, or at least it was not as, I don't know. It's not dissimilar to, rap and sampling. It's kind of the same thing in that it was a more freewheeling time, and the way things could be mixed and matched together, that, kind of got squashed over time,
well,
and
yeah, and like
it's
the rules, I think, for like just like airing something live on TV are
yeah.
more loose than once you sell it as like, once DVDs came along and you're
Yeah.
selling television shows, or, streaming came along and then you're putting television shows on there, then they didn't sign contracts for streaming because streaming didn't exist and DVD box sets didn't exist. So then, you're trying to rewrite everything and, then, or you have people who you need permission from and they're dead and, you have no one who can, take over for it. So, I mean, that's a lot of what red tape held up the Muppet Show
Hmm.
forever. We never got the last two seasons on DVD. They eventually put most of it on Disney Plus, just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But, I have 3/5 of the show on my shelf, so that'll never be complete, unfortunately.
Piggy and Kermit kind of reconnect.
Yes.
This is after the fight like they have a fight in the park, and then
Right. And
they
that's
have
the chase sequence that I mentioned earlier where she gets mugged,
Mhm.
and you see the human in pig form chasing after the guy
And then they had the carriage ride with Jim Henson, and that's when they had the Muppet Baby
sequence.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
and I wanted to
like
mention
double
this. I
shoot.
mean, again, like Muppets have like the most loosest of anything you're gonna call canon.
Yeah.
There really is no strict, hard and fast
Mhm.
canon. But I just as a little fun fact or whatever, in this movie, it's a dream sequence of she's wondering what if we met when we were much younger, and that's the Muppet Babies. But then in Muppet Family Christmas, they play an old home movie featuring them as
That's
Muppet
right.
Babies.
Exactly. It's just kind of like, oh, there is
So
no canon. There is
are
no
two different
canon.
realities. But then,
Yeah.
like we said earlier, this reality where they went to college together and graduated and put it on a Broadway show has Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock in that same world.
Yeah.
So it is as if it's the same world. I mean, so was Kermit part of Sesame Street on the side when he was, going to college or something? But also oddly and interestingly, they're on the bride's side.
Yeah.
So that's kind of odd too. How does Piggy know all that? But
But that's kind of what I like is they intentionally never have canon with the Muppets. There's no constructing this. The whole point is to deconstruct the idea of there being like one canon, one story about who the Muppets are in terms of like, oh, how do they all know each other? Well, we're just going to constantly rewrite that. Nobody cared about any of this. Like, well, what's the real like timeline? What's the real story thing until like, I mean, that's so it's not, I don't even want to call it nerdy because
I was gonna say it is nerdy.
It's very nerdy.
It's more
but
meant for things like Star Wars and Marvel,
yeah,
where they try to have some cohesive shared universe and timeline. But even those things, they contradict. But it's just because people lose track of things because it gets so vast, and it would take a lot of people doing a lot of research and documenting to keep everything straight.
And honestly, there's no point in that. My kind of one of my big interests is medieval literature, right? Do you know how many versions of like King Arthur stories there are and how contradictory they can be? And like don't like there are a couple basic facts, and like they're not facts, it's all fiction, but like saying, you once asked me like, well, what's the real story behind Lancelot? And I'm like, there is no real story, not in the sense of, but like, depends on which text you want to read. And the Muppets are doing the same thing.
Which is the real one?
Yeah. But and the Muppets are doing the same thing, but they're consciously doing it. Like they're consciously constantly deconstructing like well, what is the relationship between these characters? Like kind of the point is it doesn't actually like there's no backstory. Don't worry about a backstory. We're going to keep rewriting the backstory because that's not actually what's important. What's important is the story that you're watching right now. The characters stay the same. Their personalities stay the same. We can rewrite the backstories all we want because the personalities are still their personalities.
It's like the Mystery Science Theater opening theme.
Exactly. Really, just relax.
Yeah. Back to the movie. They reconnect.
Yes.
And now she's working at the luncheonette.
Yeah.
And that's when they get the letter from the big Broadway producer.
Right.
Which turns out is forged, but
right, because it's actually the big Broadway producer's son, Lonny, who gets to actually put the show on. But so we get to meet Lonny, and then we meet his father.
Lonny. The actor's name is Lonny, I think, though.
Oh,
which is funny because he's playing Ronnie, but his name is
Lonny.
No,
you're right. Sorry.
I remember, later years down the road, I watched like all of Golden Girls with my wife after we got together. She was a big fan. There's an episode where he's in it and he's a producer, but it's a TV producer, and he's like a real jerk. Like and like he's butting heads with Dorothy. It's this like show for this like old actor playing this superhero character that one of them is dating, and he's like this young snot-nosed producer. So it's just a very different, but similar because it's producer, but he's a very different character from this like fresh-faced, squeaky clean Ronnie Crawford.
Yeah. But so we get to meet his father, played by Art Carney, who actually, had been a Broadway actor and everything, on top of doing television.
Star Wars holiday special fame.
Yeah. Infamous. Much like B. Arthur.
All right, yeah.
And so I do like having Art Carney in this for a little bit. He was the original Felix Unger actually on in The Odd Couple. But yeah, it's a small role, but this is him back playing against Muppets, because I'm still saying all those Star Wars things are Muppets. I know, I'm not letting it go. But anyway,
there was a Star Wars episode of the Muppet Show when they crossed over. Mark Hamill, R2D2, C-3PO, Chewbacca, and Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker both were featured in the episode.
Oh, I know. I've seen it.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite episode.
Actually, it is. It's actually a really good episode.
So Art, he interacted with Itchy and Lumpy, right?
Yeah, and Itchy and Lumpy.
Yeah.
Oh God, why do you remember this?
Sorry.
Why am I criticizing you? I've watched that like holiday special like at least 4 times.
I haven't
watched
it.
Were you a masochist?
Yes. No.
I guess I've watched it that many times, but I mostly remember seeing it as a kid and being really disappointed.
Oh.
Even as a kid, like I was like,
well, with the cartoon, people say they like the thing that introduced Boba.
Oh yeah,
Like that's like the one
that was fun.
decent part of that whole thing.
Made by the people who made heavy metal.
Yeah,
I can see that. That style very similar.
Oh, Absolutely, it's very much so. But yeah, so our Carney agrees to put on their show, and they've got 2 weeks.
Mhm.
2 weeks to put together. But oh, this is great. And Kermit's like super excited and like, he's so excited he gets hit by a car.
Yep.
I was thinking about that too. Like, he's a frog. He couldn't have hopped out. Like,
Look, man, when those cabs are coming at you, man, there have been more than once I've almost been plowed under.
I was surprised he didn't go flying. He just crumples down right away.
That's
yeah,
true.
maybe they hit maybe they hit the brakes and it was just a little tap, but he hit his head or something, and that's why he's amnesiac.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you say, he becomes an amnesiac, and then we basically get, what if Kermit worked on Madison Avenue?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
it's very much like normal SpongeBob, and
yes,
normal Squidward, like, hello there.
Yeah, exactly. So he wakes up in the hospital with amnesia, and his doctor is played by Linda Lavin. So we get a fun little sequence there.
Yeah, twisting his arm around, bending his knees, looking in his mouth. She's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, your case is hopeless."
There's a lot of very fun stuff they do with the Kermit puppet in that little scene, just manipulating him and whatnot, and playing with his legs and his head. So yeah, he ends up looking for a job and ends up at an ad agency and basically becomes the Don Draper of frogs.
Just say what it does.
Yeah. Instead of coming up with like a really bad slogan.
Yeah. It's like Phil, Gil, and Jill, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So he ends up working in this ad agency, doesn't remember who he is. And apparently he's a success. And I do like the idea that, this is, like a little nod to how Henson started off in advertising.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I read that somewhere.
I read something to how it's kind of sort of biographical, like Kermit's character is sort of.
Yeah, just it's like a little nod. I don't think like the film is actually, but yeah, the fact that he wants to get into showbiz, but he has to work in advertising for a while and stuff, and I kind of like that idea. I don't know if that's true, but yeah.
Also, Frank has a cameo himself in the meeting, the Ocean Breeze soap meeting. He's sitting at that table. There's a few others in this one too. In the audience in the opening, Steve Whitmire's there, Marty Robinson's there, and I just saw today also that David Rudman is there. He's who does like Scooter and Janice these days.
Oh, okay.
Also like Baby Bear on Sesame Street, and he's the current Cookie Monster. So I didn't realize he was in that scene, but he's there too.
Oh, okay.
I think the women who help Piggy with her purse are too. And I was trying to look up to confirm today. I thought one of them was supposed to be Kathy Mullen, who does Moki, and she's, Jill in this. But then I was looking up, and there's like a discussion thread on Muppet Wiki about, well, this woman has freckles and doesn't quite match Kathy. And then they say the other one's supposed to be Karen Prell, who's red on Fraggle Rock, but I don't think she looks very much like Karen Prell. But I don't know if it was just she's not wearing her glasses or whatever. But I thought those two women, because it seems like a role where they would have, oh, here, you guys do it. It's not a speaking role. It's the two things, and they're helping Miss Piggy. So it seems like it would be, for performers to do. But
Kermit, is missing, but they still got to put the show on. So they still work on getting the show together, and it is like an hour till showtime, and there's still no Kermit, and they're in the diner. They don't know what to do.
Well, before that, they also have the montage, another montage in there where they're looking all up and down the city for them.
Yeah.
Now this, maybe she pointed it out another time we watched it together, but this is something I never noticed until she brought it up. I don't know if you noticed this. When she's back in Central Park, Piggy's looking, and she sees again a horse and buggy. You see the couple in there?
Mm-hmm.
They're clearly meant to look like Kermit and Piggy.
Oh yeah.
Because
he's wearing all green.
He's wearing all green, and she's got the big poofy blonde hair and wearing pink. I don't think I ever caught that until my wife pointed it out to me. But it's just a funny detail that they would do that. Once again, just like in Caper, we have like a large group conversation, and then when it stops, Janice is saying something inappropriate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, look, buddy, I don't take my clothes off for anybody, even if it is artistic.
That's my sister's favorite line too, by the way. They hear Kermit is sitting there playing with a couple glasses of water and starts tapping out the music
together again.
And they're like, hey, wait a minute. Gonzo ends up poking his head around and seeing Kermit there.
Well, they first look over it, but they angle, they're looking, and they just see the other frogs at the table. Then then like he keeps hearing it. Gonzo turns around the corner of it, and then he sees Kermit. Yeah.
Yeah. Kermit, of course, doesn't remember who anybody is. They haul him into the theater anyway. They're like,
Yeah,
"Come on,
Kermit's just
man."
like Piggy's just like grab him.
Yeah. And they're trying to like explain, who you are, this, you're Kermit, we're doing this show, you wrote this, etc.
Yeah, Fozzie's trying to tell him a joke.
And nothing is getting through to him. And essentially, Piggy's just like, "Look, man, we've got a thing going on. You're in love with me. Don't you remember any of this?" And this broke my heart as a small child, this scene, because he basically says, "Why would I be in love with you? You're a pig."
Yeah. And he starts mocking it, making
and he's
jokes.
mocking her and making fun of her. And it's the most horrible thing especially when you're a kid and you're just like, why would you ever do that? Like, I get how it's funny, but like as a kid, I literally was so sad when I would see this scene. So when she just wails on him and tosses him across the room, I'm just like, yeah, that's right. That's how you deal with that.
Yeah, she like canceled the show and just knocked him across the room.
And as always, all amnesia is fixed by being punched in the face.
Yes. He remembers who he is. Oh, wow, we've got a show to put on in 5 minutes. And you know what? I remember all of the show. Let's go.
And he starts singing, and leads right into the...
Yep. And so then, yeah, the end of the film we get kind of what, the Manhattan melody is.
Yeah, and this is very much the Broadway melody, 42nd Street ending.
Yeah, absolutely. This is right out of one of those films.
Yeah.
It's
and throughout the movie, he'd been saying it's not finished, something's missing, and then you see some of these side characters that were introduced in the little side stories, and he tells them that's it was them that were missing. And then amazingly on the spot incorporates them all into the play perfectly.
Yeah. Like really, the star is Jenny making those outfits for those bears.
Yes,
it just showed up just now, and she has outfits for them.
It's
right
very
away.
impressive.
It's amazing.
She is the greatest seamstress ever in Broadway history.
I gotta say, do you think there's sparks between Jenny and Kermit? Do you think?
No, they're
I don't know. I think
platonic.
I think that's the whole point is that it's only in Piggy's head that it just shows that you can have this male female combination, but it is purely they're just they're friendly.
I don't know.
I don't think
seen from a distance from a very jealous love interest, she's gonna see it differently.
No, that's purely platonic. But no, so we finally get the Broadway melody, and so you get these different sequences. It is like those old movies of somebody's getting married, and it's like going to all lead up to a wedding at the very end, and so it's cute, and it's very much modeled on those sorts of movies from the 30s. And we end up with that wonderful scene at the end of like we get into the church on stage, and as you said, half the groom's side is like basically Muppet Show characters, and some others,
and Sesame Street.
And no,
Sesame Street's on the other side.
Sesame Street's on the bride's side.
Kermit's side has like up front in like suits is like Fozzie and Gonzo and the band.
That's right.
Even Janice is wearing. Then in the back you got more side, secondary, tertiary characters like Crazy Harry and the Newsman and stuff like that. Then at the back of the bride side, you got the Sesame crew, and then you got a handful of just random pigs. You've got the little babies and the old people singing about how time flies in your life.
Again, as a kid, seeing, oh my God, the Muppet Show and Sesame Street are on, in the same thing together like this. Obviously, as a kid, this is just setting off all of the little joy buzzers in my head.
Especially seeing them all move in unison. That was pretty cool.
Oh my God, I love the chorus of penguins.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. The penguins got to play a role after they were, rejected at the door earlier.
So yeah, at the very end of the film, as this show is supposed to be taking place on stage, and the characters are supposed to get married, and out comes an actual minister, and it turns out this is actually a minister.
He literally was. Yeah.
This was a literal Presbyterian minister who apparently just sang opera, and he marries Piggy and Kermit.
Jim Henson and Frank Oz.
Yes, they were legally married in the state.
I was gonna say, I don't know if because you share a love so big, I now pronounce you frog and pig as legally binding. But I guess that was sort of the argument
In the state of
in public
Pennsylvania,
appearances.
yeah, no, I think it works in the state of Pennsylvania because we have Quaker weddings here, and you don't actually, you can get away with a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like in public appearances, I think Piggy was like insisting that no, that was the real deal. While
Yeah.
Kermit was like, just like with Gonzo, no, that was we were playing parts in a movie.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that scene in Dracula with
Oh, that's right.
I was gonna say,
Yes.
where is this going?
Oh, no, no.
this is the thing.
In Coppola's Dracula, there is the wedding scene between Jonathan Harkness and what is
Not Lucy.
yeah, Lucy. Anyway, Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder.
Okay.
There's a scene of them getting married in in the film, and it turns out the person who performed the ceremony in the film was an actual like Romanian priest or something, and so they are maybe technically in some sense married. And so they've actually kind of kept that up through the years where like they do kind of refer to each other
As husband
and wife.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's very cute actually. So yeah, that's the end of the film, is them saying I do and being swept away in a moon, like a
And then
crescent moon.
and the ending line that Kermit says is, "What better way can anything end? Hand in hand with a friend." I
Well,
would have thought Piggy would have like karate chopped him right there. What do you mean, friend? Like, we're husband and wife. You're calling me a friend? That's all I am to you?
look.
Well, it rhymes.
I saw Muppets Christmas Carol. We know they have children. It works out. It's fine. So, but no, so that's the film. And what'd you think, Dennis? You never saw this before.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's more subdued than the other two.
Okay.
Like it's not as kind of, I don't know.
Wacky hijinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like it's better than Caper, I
Okay.
think. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
I know some people feel that way. Yeah, it's hard for me to rank them sometimes because I almost just feel like I lean on order of release. Like, I mean, I feel like nothing can top movie.
Yeah.
And then, the 2 and 3, I don't know, maybe it's like a toss up, but Caper's got a lot of good jokes and, stuff. And then this one's really good. It's really heartfelt and good. And, they're all made while Jim was around. Christmas Carol is like a holiday classic.
Mhm.
Then Treasure Island and From Space, I haven't seen them as much, but then, then I see, 2011, I'm like, is that higher up than some? But then I have my issues, like I mentioned with it. But then Muppets Most Wanted was really good. And I'm like, do I put that even above, it's hard, I just, it's hard to rank.
It
any of them.
is.
Again,
Yeah.
it feels like the 3 ones where Jim was around are just like untouchable, like holy. So to put, even a really good modern one, it's like to put them in the ranks of them, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, I kind of agree actually. And I probably like this one more than Caper. I've watched it more than Caper, but I think that's also maybe just because the kind of movies that it's riffing off of are the movies that I watched, like I kind of was raised on anyway. So for me, like it has this other layer to it, and that might be part of why. Yeah, so like obviously I love this movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad to finally get to, show this to you and cover it for the show.
One other thing, like Gregory Hines is great in this. Like
Yeah.
his like moderating like their little fight thing is just
You go for the huggies?
Yeah.
And it's also fun, like you don't know it's Gregory Hines at first. She walks up to this guy. It's another one of those revealed cameos. Can I borrow those? And then later on he comes running by. Hey, can I get my skates back? It's like, what, keep them. I just like running around in shorts.
Yeah, like for me, it's the first time seeing it. Seeing someone running up behind him, I was like, "Wait, she's gonna get mugged again or something?"
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, I love that. That is a great little. That's probably the best of the cameos in there, is because he's so good and natural with them. The other thing we didn't even bring up is Elliot Gould.
I was just gonna say Elliot Gould. He's
Yeah.
a very short cameo, and he's also like a returning cameo because he had one in the first Muppet movie where he was doing the beauty pageant. I was just going to mention that Elliot Gould was also in sort of like a holy grail for Muppet and Sesame fans. There was a TV special called Out to Lunch that had like Sesame characters and I think people from shows on the network, and it was like this crossover special, and it's I'm sure it's in like a Sesame Street vault or an ABC vault somewhere. So it's not technically literally lost media, but for all intents and purposes to the public, it basically is. There's pictures online and there's audio that's come online, but the actual special is just, I've never seen it and it's not really available, but it would be great to see. But yeah, Elliot goes to that. There was like a TV guide I've seen people joke about online where it's like him and Grover. They're like, okay, just, as sexy as possible. It's like,
Yeah.
Photographer still, it's like, what?
Yeah.
He's there with Grover.
Oh, I know the tweet you're talking about, and it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen. It really is very funny. All right, Zach, once again, thank you so much for being on our show and giving us so much just insight into, the Muppets and puppetry and everything else, and just talking about this film.
And besides Muppets, also Audrey the plant.
And
Audrey too.
I'm do we gotta litigate this? Do we gotta go to like
Muppet
court?
adjacent
Yeah.
Muppets?
Yes. So once again, thank you so much for being on the show. Do you have anything you would need to promote or want to promote? Or
No, I'm doing my thing. I still need to really push myself more to get the Zany Zach shows going off the ground. Just life gets in the way. I've got a wife and 2 young kids and a full-time job, and we're living in crazy times, and trying to find time to devote to my own personal creative expression is harder and harder. Things that Wally, I only bring him out of the bag so often these days because again, my real human children come first.
Oh, come on.
Before
They'll fend for themselves.
Puppet character, but I'm out there. I'm not super, needing to plug anything, but those are the things in case anyone. And I have my own TikTok. I'm out there. My name's Zach Woliner. You find me on the places. That's about it. That's about it. Nothing big, but come find me if you want to.
All right. Well, thank you once again for being on.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I'm always happy and enthusiastic to share my passion with all this stuff and whatever knowledge I have that could help, and especially with you guys who are so into it. So it's not like I'm just the odd man out.
Yeah,
we're all on the same wavelength. So it's really a lot of fun, and I'll come back again as long as you'll have me.
Awesome.
And thankfully, there's still plenty I haven't seen.
Yeah, that is
there
true.
There you go. We'll work with that.
All right. Anything else about this movie you want to say?
No.
Dustin Hoffman?
Oh, yeah. We didn't mention that?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So I had guessed Dustin Hoffman would be in it.
Yep.
And I was right.
Well, you want to unpack that for a second?
Yeah. So there was a scene where Dustin Hoffman was playing a Robert Evans type producer guy. And he backed out because he said, I'll never get a job in Hollywood again.
Yeah, and so he was supposed to be in this. You guessed he would be in it. He was supposed to be in it, and he was not in it.
I was on their wavelength.
You absolutely were.
Yeah.
Yes.
There were dogs.
There were dogs. There was a love triangle.
Love triangle. Yeah.
There were no deaths.
No.
No.
No, I guess not.
No, definitely not. So almost a perfect film.
Kind of an angry dad, sort of, briefly. The producer
played by Carney.
Yeah.
Carney, yeah. All right, fine. He's not that angry.
He's angry for a minute.
I've seen angrier in a Muppet film. I mean, really.
Yeah.
So once again, we would like to thank Zach Woliner for coming onto the show and being our Muppet guru. This was great. I think this episode goes a little longer than we usually do, but it was so great to have Zach back. And, no regrets, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it's always good to have him on. All right. You can, of course, follow us on social media. We're Mary vs. Movies on all of your major platforms. We are on TikTok. We are on, what do you call it? Instagram, Reels, whatever. We're our own mascot, puppet, whatever, Reggie usually talks about whatever film that we are in, and they're always fun little videos. Sometimes Dennis actually gets a chance to animate things, which is always great. And otherwise, just follow us on all of your socials. Mary vs. Movies. We have a Facebook page. We're on Tumblr. It's Mary vs. the Movies, etc. What else? You can listen to us on all of your major platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review the show. We would really appreciate it if you did. We are also on, Spotify, YouTube, Overcast, but basically anywhere that you can find podcasts, we will be there. And you could always just take our RSS feed and plug it into whatever your podcatcher of choice is. Let's see what else. We have a newsletter where you can find out what we're up to, what shows we've been watching, what movies we've been watching. Sometimes does cartoons, and those are always cool. You can sign up for that by emailing maryvsmovies@gmail.com. You can also write to us with any comments, questions, complaints, or suggestions. We would love to hear from you. I even check my email sometimes. So, but yeah, no, we've done some listener requests lately, and it's been a lot of fun. We have a Patreon where you can help support the show because, as you have noticed, we are not a network. We do not have ads. This is basically just Des and I paying for this out of our pocket. But if you want to help support that, because look, we put out a show a week, more or less, with a little wiggle room, and we, it takes a lot to do that. And it costs money to have a server and to have the Zoom account that we use to, record the episode today. All sorts of things like that. So if you want to help support that, for $3 a month, you can sign up at patreon.com/MaryVSMovies. Do not use the Apple app. I know it's easy, but they institute like a 30% cut that they're taking out of everything. So it's either we raise our prices or we get less money. So that kind of sucks. So just use the browser of whatever computer you have and sign up that way. So MaryVSMovies on Patreon. But if you do that, if you want to support the show, we really appreciate it if you did. You will also get access to a whole other show that we do called Hollywood Avalon, which is Arthurian movies. Yes, that's right. We watch movies that have something to do with King Arthur, the Holy Grail, Morgan Le Fay, all of that type of stuff. So we will watch anything from Indiana Jones' Last Crusade to the movie First Knight to The Kid Would Be King to The Green Knight to Bugs Bunny cartoons, the George Romero film Knight Riders, and even, I'm trying to think of what we did most recently. That's right. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, the Guy Ritchie film.
Oh.
That was, you're laughing, but that was fun.
It was fun.
We did the Transformers movie, The Last Night. It's like if it's King Arthur related somehow, we will watch it. And if that appeals to you, if you like what we do here and you want to hear us do that, but relating to like the Middle Ages and King Arthur and movies like that, sign up at patreon.com/MaryVSMovies and you will get to listen to Hollywood Avalon. Other than that, Dennis versus the Movies month, it trundles on. And we have one more week left. And the next episode is going to be The Adventures of Raggedy Ann and Andy.
I'm liking my chances. I think my own 7 streak is about to break.
Well, look, it's a weird one, I'll admit. This is the movie I'm going to show you is a very weird movie that I watched a lot as a kid. And I don't know what that means. And maybe you'll get to dive into that next week. But yeah, it's a weird movie. It's about the two rag dolls, Raggedy Ann and Andy. And I don't know. I can't wait for you to see this mess of a film.
Maybe I can finally take one down.
I'm not going to say one way or the other. But other than that, until next time.
The Huggies? You gave Jenny the Huggies?